As a nervous young woman, I am sent soaring through the air, like an injured bird of prey, upside down before the eyes of my stunned parents. Thus I was able to end a thrilling chapter of my life and begin another. You may think my nerves stemmed from some fear of injury or death. That was the case for my parents. But my fear was the unwillingness to be in front of a crowd. Any crowd. Since about the age of 5, my mother, brother, and I have gone to the stock car races every Saturday night to support and cheer on my father. Even now, I can almost sense being there. Modified and sportsmen screaming by like a jetliner on takeoff, wreaking havoc with my hair. An intense fuel odor clings to me like a spider's web I mistakenly walk through. The engines create a full-body sensation that feels as if frantic butterflies are trying to escape a child's net within me. I actually turn to mud as I shower away the night's collection of dust kicked up from the track. Simultaneously, I was experiencing teasing at school on a regular basis, which began tearing apart my innocence. My ability to handle being in public quickly began to melt away like an ice cream cone on a hot summer day. Increasing anxiety and the desire to please and be accepted led me to make many poor decisions and exacerbated my shortcomings. Never willingly showing my face in a photo for years to come was a sign of these insecurities. At the track, I could hide in the trailer, venturing out tentatively, like a fawn peering through the tall grass from behind the doe when necessary. Considering this, I now believe the stress of racing actually took my mind off of my misfortunes temporarily. The gut-wrenching sound of sheet metal being crumpled like a soda can in the fists of a giant. The oppressive sea of brown clouds billowing from the front stretch near the full grandstand. The audible synchronized gasp of everyone attending. The rescue crew scurrying to get onto the now fluid-soaked clay are all part of what made me forget, at least for a moment, the bitterness I had about being a public, as well as the unfortunate state of my marriage. Regarding this, I'd felt the desire to be out there too. By now my brother was also a regular driver, but I had the nerves of a chicken. Sometime in my 20s, I pensively started mentioning my desire to try racing. I wasn't adamant about it, and my parents weren't keen on the idea, having seen my brother involved in several wrecks already, so it didn't happen right away. Eventually, a driver offered me a car to use. Nervously accepting the offer, my jello legs began to quiver, but I refused to surrender to my fear. As a matter of fact, I realized once I was wearing a helmet and strapped in a car, I wasn't really in front of a crowd. They didn't see me, only the cocoon in which I resided. Soon after, I borrowed a second car, and from then on, I became a true part of the Track of Champions. The following year was particularly frightening. My own car, my own helmet, my own number 273, my own wreck mere feet from the crowd. Catapulted from the hard clay to the even harder, unyielding concrete barrier, I was forced to make an appearance outside of my comfort zone. The crowd cheered. Funny how they love this part. Their stares bored through me just like the bumblebee sawdust drilling of a hole in my garage door at home. My heart pounding from the adrenaline rush began to beat out of my chest from exposure. For distraction, I turned my attention to my poor 273. The roof was flattened and there were 3 flat tires. One tire had fled the scene, mocking me from the infield, where I wished to be. Even though my car remained several inches shorter for the rest of that year in the shadow of the carport, with the mother bird and her eggs safely hidden in the mangled bumper, I had a strange reassurance. I survived not only the physical damage my parents feared, but more importantly, the internal damage I had been living with was altered. Afterwards, with this new feeling taking hold, I went on to race again. That being the case, midway through the feature race, it seemed that ominous giant had once again finished his race, consequently crushing the can with greater force than usual. The monstrous sea of brown appeared murkier from the inside. The gasp, I believe, is still heard by my mother to this day. I flew, I flipped, I landed. I came to rest upside down, hanging like an opossum from its tail, just yards from where my parents stood anxiously observing, bringing an end to my racing career. Seconds seemed like hours while I dangled securely from my harness. The space around me inside the car seemed to have shrunk drastically. Expecting the rescue crew, it actually was no surprise that my father barged his way in, instructing me on how to brace myself against the now all too near roof, so he could release the harness and help me out. As I was wobbly guided once again to an emergency vehicle, before the stares of all, I felt another small victory. I had literally taken several more steps towards freedom from my ghosts by acknowledging this fear. Since then, I've been able to work up the courage to be in other situations in which I am not totally comfortable. Every day gave me a little more strength than the last. Overall, I will always appreciate this unique opportunity, which allowed me to work through some of the indelible marks left me by my peers. The sights, the sounds, the smells will forever remain in my blood, and I am grateful that none of that blood ever became one of the fluids seeped into the clay.